What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the 8th edition of the Littleroot Record. This is a very special week where I'm not joined by a VGC pro, but one of the best Go players around right now, Ana Hoffman, better known as Nhoff. Anna, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Really cool to be invited on this. As we were mentioning earlier, I have dabbled quite a bit in VGC. Really enjoy it as well. Obviously, Go is my forte, but always happy to talk about the similarities between the different games.
Well, that's good, and that's why we want you here because you are definitely someone who can show us the differences and similarities between the two games. And before we get into like the nitty gritty with Pokemon Go and VGC, just introduce yourself in general and how you got into Pokemon.
Yeah, so I am. I mean, one of the top Go players, especially in New England. So have been playing Go since its launch back in 2016. I'm qualified for Hawaii this year. Qualified for Japan last year. Got even the travel award, which was really exciting last year. Um, Started with the franchise back with Silver, so Gen 2, way back on the Game Boy Color, and never looked back. Well, played like a lot of people played for a few generations and then like took a break from it. So I played Gens 2, 3, and 4, and in that played the Kanto story and Fire Red Leaf Green still. But then I actually took a break until Pokemon Go was my main like resurgence into the games. So that's a solid few years there between Pearl was the Gen 4 version I had, and then I played some like side games here and there, like Ranger and some of those other non-main series games. But then came back with Go and dove heavily into it back in 2016. Haven't really looked back since then. Have caught back up with the main series, so I've played Sword and Shield. I've played Legends Arceus, some of the remakes as well, with Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Let's Go, Pikachu Eevee, and then obviously Scarlet and Violet, which is the one that I've played competitively in the VG circuit. But main focus on Go. Go released their PvP function in 2018, and there was no Go Battle League, so the in-game like battle ladder only got released then in 2020. But for those first couple years, it was entirely grassroots. So I didn't play in the first season of that grassroots. I would still do like trainer battles with friends, but I wouldn't play in like the structure that the community put together. Started playing that in their second season, and since then have just been always very focused on my play, very eager to do better, and luckily has a really thriving online community, kind of reinforced by everyone going online in 2020 and things like the Go Battle League launching and being able to connect with people. Have always been really focused and in tune with like being able to scrim people remotely and keep up with the game and the competitive scene.
No, that's great. And leading into that, why don't you get into just explaining how Pokemon Go PvP and specifically the sanctioned tournaments, the League Cups, challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
regionals work? What is that format?
Yeah, so Go PvP is a show six pick three format, so
Okay.
comparable to VGC, which is show six bring four. Obviously, VGC is also double battles. Go has a different battle structure entirely. I would compare it more to almost like a fighting game. Obviously, not as many inputs, but like it is real time battles. You have technically there's still turns, but turns are half-second intervals just to account for latency and all. And um, you select 3 of your 6 Pokemon, bring them into a game. That is different from the ladder function, so it's something that I'll regularly talk to VGC and TCG players, is that our in-game ladder is not the same as our competitive circuit for challenges, cups, or regionals. So that's entirely practiced through like scrimmages with friends, through in-person events, whatever it may be. But you build out a team of 6 Pokemon, and then each given battle you bring 3. Usually, similar to VGC, you want things that cover each other's weaknesses, complementary, coverage across your team, and then you read your opponent's team, and if I have Lickitung on my team, and my opponent doesn't have a great answer for Lickitung, I'm probably going to bring Lickitung, all 3 games, or however many games the set goes. So lots of similarities in like strategy, but the actual game then or the actual matches are very different, both in the time, in the amount of like inputs and strategy behind those inputs, but then also things like needing reaction speed. I competed. My first VGC tournament that I did was Orlando last season, so 2023. I had been doing Go for well over a year since it was introduced into the like competitive circuit for Play Pokemon, and I did. I set up a team. I had gone to a local just to try it out. And then I went to the tournament, and I was like locking in my moves, and it would pop up like 45 seconds to go, and I already have everything locked in, and I'm just like, oh, right. You don't need to make all your decisions really quickly. So pros and cons to that. I definitely am not the best with reaction time, so I like plan things ahead with Go, compared to like other players who are like really quick with it. But it's a very interesting, different skill set, and I think that's part of what's really cool across all 3 games is they flex different muscles.
And the way the Pokemon even are trained are different as well. I know with VGC, everything is set at level 50. You have the EVs and IV, like the EVs you train. Mm-hmm. The IVs, of course, are set, but you can always change them with the bottle cap item. We do have an IV system in Pokemon Go, but it is a lot different. I know it's based on a 15-point scale, and your offenses and defenses are combined. Do you want to dive a little more into like that difference? Because I think the way that you get your Pokemon and the way you train them between the 2 games is probably one of the biggest differences between the 2.
Oh yes, immensely different. So yeah, as you're explaining, it is interesting both in what makes a Pokemon viable in Pokemon Go, because of their structure. So it's not set at level 50. It is a 1500 CP ceiling that these Pokemon can come into for Great League, simply because that's like the most accessible format in Go's PvP system. And then, as you mentioned, it's not exactly averaged attack and defense. What it is effectively it's like a 7/8 multiplier on the higher of the 2, so like attack versus special attack, and then a 1/8 multiplier on the lower of the 2, and then added together. So it's even more specialized than that. So a Pokemon like Blissey that has a really high special defense but a really low physical defense will have a higher defense in Pokemon Go as a result than something that's more balanced. So one of your all-rounders like your mythicals where it's 100 in every stat, they're going to be a lot more like fair, so to speak, in terms of attack and defense, and that causes interesting developments into like what's really viable in Go structure, as well as how the combat power formula works. So attack is weighted a lot more than defense. You have a lot of Pokemon that are really bulky in both the main series and in Go that are a lot more viable. I mentioned earlier, like Lickitung is one of the best Pokemon in Pokemon Go.
I haven't seen a Lickitung in VGC.
No, that's one that is always very interesting. Noctowl was really good for quite some time. I know that's one that's never been viable in VGC. Meganium is one of my favorites. It's not super viable in Go right now, but it has had its time in the past, and it's like the worst starter you could think of in VGC. We do have some glass cannons, like Charizard's fairly glass cannon in Go, but has seen some success just because of the moves it has access to. because Go has a more simplified move pool, and depending on how they balance things. But you have a lot of those really bulky Pokemon. Bastiodon's another one because it has that really high physical defense. Never seen any play. Some overlap ones like Umbreon. I know Umbreon's not super viable in VGC, but sees play here and there. I think some people were testing it as a somewhat of a counter to Calyrex as an unrestricted. I don't think it's seen any major success, but that's one. Pelipper is okay in Go, and I know it's huge in VGC right now because Weather Setting and Wide Guard and Tailwind, and chip potential with U-Turn, lots of good options in that toolkit. So those are always fun. And then my favorite Weather Setter for VGC, Torkoal isn't viable in Go. It is usable, but not viable in Go. It is one move away, and I've been hoping that it gets access to Weather Ball in Go for the longest time, because it would instantly be usable. I know it's kind of fallen out with the restricteds coming in to VGC, but that was my favorite. When I competed in Orlando and a few others, I did Torkoal, because that was Regulation B. Torkoal plus a lot of past paradoxes kind of did that photosynthesis spam. And that's just a really fun Pokemon to me. So yeah, and that all that combat power structure changes what's viable. To go further into what you were chatting about, the acquisition of Pokemon is so much less controlled as well, because your IVs are set. There are no bottle caps. There's no breeding 0 attack Ditto with your Pokemon to get something that's better against foul play. You can't breed down 0 speed or whatever it may be. And so the weighting of attack higher in the combat power formula also affects IVs. So if you look at Pokemon Go, the best IVs for most Pokemon are going to be something like 0, 15, 15. That's attack, defense, and HP, where you want high defense, you want high HP. Depending on the Pokemon, you might want more HP than defense. Things like Wigglytuff have really high HP but really low defense, so you might want more defense. You might want high HP on something like my favorite Pokemon for Go PvP is Tapu Fini, has really high defenses. There's another Pokemon that's really viable in VGC as well. I know it's not in the current gen, but
I cannot say what I would do to get Tapu Fini on my team.
Yep.
You would never see me again. They would lock me in the black box. I can't say what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Free Fini. The rest of them I don't care about. Fini.
I know some people would go crazy for Coco right now, especially to not only to set up the future paradox, but also to counter Miraidon. But no, Fini I know is hero to the VG scene, and my personal favorite in Go PvP as well. But yeah, to tie off of that as well, for these Pokemon, these legendaries, the best way to get good IVs for PvP is actually using the trade function. In Go, when you trade a Pokemon, its IVs reroll. And when you do a raid for a legendary, which is the only way to get most legendaries, they're capped at 10, or they're floored at 10, 10, 10. So they can have anywhere from 10 attack, 10 defense, 10 HP to 15 of each, which is 100% IV, similar to flat 31s in VG. And the only way to change that is by trading. So the Tapu Fini that I use in PvP has 2 attack IVs, 2 defense IVs, and 8 HP IVs. And that's because I traded it with a friend of mine and received that very lucky spread, because Tapu Fini wants HP most of all. And happened to get one that, hit a combat power close as well. It's 1499 CP, which is really close to the 1500 bar. So in terms of accessibility, I've chatted with a lot of people about this. Again, I've played all 3. VG, if you got the game on Monday, you could probably have a baseline competitive team by the next Monday. You might be limited to what legendaries you can run. You might have to run, a restricted that's in Scarlet Violet, so Kyogre or Groudon, so you got the DLC. Or obviously the box legends, Koraidon, Miraidon. But you'd be able to like beat the game, get access to hyper training, farm some coins from it. Terras might be difficult to get, but like a week or so of like grinding out things and you'd be good. TCG has it the easiest. You go on card buying website. You spend 20 minutes there. Your wallet's $50 lighter at the end of it, but you have your deck. You just have to wait a week for it to arrive in the mail. Go is you spend 6 months catching Pokemon and hope that you get the right IVs. Like it's something that I really would like to see improved. I've talked with the developers of the game. I've talked with many people and made like public comment about it of this game is a grind and it makes sense with Go being like a lifestyle game, but it's definitely like even just here talking about it, like yeah, your IVs are random on trades and you just kind of have to hope you catch one that has a 0-15-15 or similar. I've done it because I've played the game so long. I have like hundreds of Pokemon built for PvP, but it is not easy to jump into, and that's there's been things made better for it. They've like put really PvP relevant Pokemon at regionals, so like people can catch a ton and try to catch the relevant IVs. But it would be like in VGC if you didn't have IV control and you had to like manually EV train everything and put on the like power brace and go farm Makuhita or whatever every single time. There were none of the proteins, none of the drugs.
Yeah. And what you were saying, like with the accessibility, that is, so I haven't entered any events. Before this, I was telling you, before I even started playing VGC, I played some of like the PvP ladder.
Right.
And it was like, I was just lucky enough to have a clip, like I was, as I said to you, like Altaria. That was back, yep, all the Altaria, the Registeel under 1500, and the Azumarill. I was just lucky enough to have those, and back then it was the pre-Registeel nerf. It was like really good, but it was like, I mean, at that point I was a very active like daily Pokemon Go player, and even then there were like a lot of different Pokemon that I think back then Lantern was also good.
Yep.
Is it still good?
Yeah, no, Lantern's still quite good.
I still don't have like a Chinchou or Lantern that I could use, but like, and that's what you were saying, like there's Pokemon that
you just can't catch them for certain time periods as well, and yeah, as you're getting into Lantern's still good, Registeel's still good. I got the lion's share of my championship points this season with Registeel. Altaria is still very usable. It's a little bit more nuanced. It's gotten hit by a nerf or two, but it still absolutely has made numbers. It certainly has like made top 8s and so on. So it's still something you have to consider when team building. And that's something that's like kind of nice, is some of the Pokemon are more accessible, like Altaria's. You need 400 candies to evolve it, but like it's not like a legendary where you have to raid it. It doesn't need to be powered up super high, which is like unfortunate aspects of Lickitung is like one of the most glaring. I had to use the buddy system to walk my Lickitung for like 5 or 6 months just to be able to power it up for Great League, because it needs to be nearly its max power. And most of my top performances have been with that Lickitung. So it's like very solid of a Pokemon, and in addition to it being not the most accessible, which is unfortunate, and something that again has been alleviated to some degree, but still has a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, for VGC, it sounds like the people who we have like Urshifu, especially before the DLC came out, the Indigo Disc DLC came out, so Regulation E, and Regulation D and Regulation E, the only way you were able to use Urshifu, which was by far like the best Pokemon, was if you had purchased the Scarlet and the Scarlet and Violet,
Urshifu, Tornadus, Sword and Shield. and both of them were locked at that point in time, locked behind Scarlet Violet.
It was
Sword and Shield, rather.
Yeah, Sword and Shield, or you could get a Tornadus via Legends Arceus.
Right.
But so
All of
like
the
you
Gs.
had multiple versions, but still, it's like they were locked behind past
Mm-hmm.
past games, and even now, Calyrex is
Right.
unbelievable. There is no way. Glastrier and Spectre are in the Indigo Disc DLC,
Right, but not Calyrex.
Yes, so you still need that Calyrex from Sword and Shield
Mm-hmm.
to play, and I mean, Calyrex has won. It won the last.
NAIC, right? That was Ice Rider?
Yep. Cali Ice won NAIC.
Yep.
Cali Shadow won LA.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, I believe I saw a tweet where the top 16 teams at NAIC, it was like two Terapagos,
Mm-hmm.
two Terapagos, two Kyogre,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything else was either Cali Ice or Cali Shadow,
Yeah.
which is kind of what we expected. We expected those two to be so good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's locked behind 4-year-old DLC on last generation's game.
Yep.
Like, and I know on the other end of it, where you have Pokemon that are locked behind, you have to walk with this Pokemon
Yep.
for 6 months, and there's also the issue of moves you mentioned with Torkoal getting to moves, but there's also like a kind of like a lock behind those as well if you want to get into like what that is.
Yeah, so there's legacy moves is what they're generally called in Pokemon Go, or Elite TM moves. So Pokemon Go, actually the history behind legacy moves is very interesting, because on launch some Pokemon had moves that they can't learn in the main series. So you have things like Chansey with Psybeam, I think Starmie with Psybeam, or Porygon with, I believe it's either Quick Attack or Tackle. It doesn't get one of them in the main series, but Niantic or TPCI, like whoever gave the go-ahead on movesets in Pokemon Go, put them into the game. Things like, and some of them have been fixed since, in terms of like the main series has gotten those moves on those Pokemon. Things I think like Diglett and Dugtrio had access to Mudshot. Graveler and Golem had access to Mudshot that they didn't have at launch, and I think now have in the main series. I don't have it committed to memory, but there are a bunch of examples of this. So a few patches in to go, they made it so you couldn't get these moves anymore. You couldn't catch a Pokemon with them. You couldn't use your standard TMs to get them. But they didn't change existing ones. So there were some fun Pokemon. There were even like ones that they could learn in the main series that got just restricted for whatever reason. So like Hypno couldn't use Psyshock or Shadow Ball, and you just couldn't get one that learns it. After they released the Go Battle League, they went back and changed a few of them to be accessible. So like Hypno could learn Shadow Ball now. Poliwrath could learn Mudshot, which was able to learn and then was legacied. But some got kept as legacy moves, and then a few months later they released Elite TMs. Now Elite TMs, you can learn these legacy moves. To give an example of like a very relevant one currently, Dugong can learn Ice Shard and Icy Wind, but only via Elite TM. This is also how they made people able to get Community Day exclusive moves. So you have your Elemental Hyper Beams for the starter Pokemon, which could only be learned on Community Days. Your Blast Burn, Frenzy Plant, and Hydro Cannon. Not Hydro Pump, but Hydro Cannon. And then there's some other like relevant moves that will be like Altaria got Moonblast specifically on its Community Day. Gyarados got Aqua Tail specifically on its Community Day. Just a way to make these moves more exclusive, get people to keep playing the game, and to use these Elite TMs. So that's a way that, unfortunately, some very relevant moves get locked. Like I said, Moonblast on Altaria. Altaria is kind of fine with Dragon Pulse, is like the other move it could use, in addition to Sky Attack. Sky Attack's its main attack. But Moonblast is generally better. You have Registeel, as we were talking about earlier, got access to Zap Cannon, strictly as an Elite TM move. Lickitung, to go back to Lickitung as like my prime offender, Body Slam was an exclusive move that you could get by raiding Lickitung, and is its best move. It's a very powerful, same type attack bonus move for Lickitung. So you have situations like this where a new player kind of has to play at the right time to get these moves, or spend these elite TMs on them, which again, it gets into like what both Niantic and TPCI wants from Go, because the like competitive game accessibility is kind of also at odds with like lifestyle game, which is not the same for the video game or the trading card game. You don't have to tend to your cards every day, or make sure that you walk your cards, or your I guess in Heart Gold Soul Silver we had the Pokewalker, so you
We
like
did, I just found my Pokewalker yesterday. I'm cleaning through boxes in my apartment. I found my Pokewalker.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm pretty pumped to see what Pokemon has been stuck on it for the last decade.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a quite some distance with that. No, that's like, obviously little tie-ins, but there's not really, and I guess there's like weekly or monthly events in the main series, but it's usually like shiny bonus, as opposed to like, this is required to compete at the highest level. I guess the exception to that would be Walking Wake and Iron Leaves, but
and even then,
those aren't super viable.
Walking Wake is only really used on one team, and Iron Leaves sucks.
Yep.
TPCI, if you're listening, whatever awful things I'll do for Feeney, I'll do even worse things if you give me a Raging Bolt. Signed every single Pokemon Violet player ever.
Yeah. The version exclusives on that is very rough as well, because Raging Bolt's like one of the best answers to quite a few restricteds as well.
It's Kyogre, just flat out one of the best Pokemon.
Yep.
It has a restricted stat spread. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
the typing's really good.
Yeah. And even like Gouging Fire, it's better than, Iron Crown's pretty good. We've seen Iron Crown have success. Not as much recently, but at the same time, not as much success as Raging Bolt. Not as much as Gouging Fire.
Right.
And like, that was where it was difficult for us. But on the other end, it's like, I also know another difference between the main series game and Pokemon Go is that you guys, you have Shadow Pokemon, which is not something we've seen on a mainline game in 19 years.
Yep. No, actually, goodness, you got me talking about accessibility, and I completely forgot about Shadow Pokemon, which is hilarious, because I've used quite a few. Both on the scale of Shadow, but also Purified. So yeah, we're gonna take a trip back. One of my favorite Pokemon games of all time is Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness.
Also one of my favorites.
It's so good. And so yeah, Pokemon Go brought this mechanic in, except made it actually very restricted. You cannot trade Shadow Pokemon. You can trade Purified Pokemon, but you cannot trade Shadow Pokemon. And so your only IV control is catching more of them. So there's quite a few Shadow Pokemon that are very viable. We just had Shadow Quagsire. I think it was Shadow Quagsire. It might have been non-Shadow, but Win NAIC. If it wasn't a Shadow Quagsire, there were at least 3 others in the top, 16 or so. Very, very viable aspect, because what Shadows do in Go PvP is they take 20% more damage, but they also deal 20% more damage. So similar to VGC, where you'll want to hit certain damage calcs, in Go, if you're able to knock out your opponent in one fewer move, and you're able to tank enough damage still fine without being knocked out, you might want your Pokemon to be a Shadow Pokemon. You might want Shadow Quagsire. Shadow Sableye is a personal favorite of mine. Purified Sableye is really good, because when you purify Pokemon, you get access to Return, which is actually very viable in Go PvP. And Sableye's main damage sources are Shadow Claw, which is Ghost, and Foul Play, which is Dark. And Normal offers very complementary coverage to Dark. The only things that resist both Dark and Normal are Carbink, Tyranitar, and the King Gambit family. I think those are the main ones, because you need to be like Dark Rock, Dark Steel, Fairy Rock, or Fairy Steel. So Mawile and Zacian Crown, but that's never coming to Go PvP, so you don't have to worry about those. Very, very few Pokemon is what I mean to say, like, actually resist that combo. So that gets very interesting as well when it comes to IV control. I've used Purified Sableye a lot. You have to trade after purifying it. And it just plays into this, like, accessibility situation. Purified doesn't have any benefits. It's not like it does the 20% in reverse. It just has access to return. But then, yeah, Shadow Pokemon have been all over since their inception. Shadow Feraligatr is really good right now because it's kind of glass cannon, hits very hard. Shadow Charizard, we were talking about Zard earlier, has a lot of shield pressure. So it goes Go PvP. You don't have Protect as a move, but you get 2 shields to protect against opponents' attacks. But you have to use those for your battle. You don't get a third. So Charizard's playstyle is it'll throw Dragon Claw, which is like relatively cheap as a move to draw some of those shields, and then hit you with really powerful Blast Burns. So those are like some of the benefits of like Shadow Pokemon. They kind of make you a lot more intimidating. They make you a lot more threatening as a Pokemon. But then also, again, unfortunately, plays into the whole accessibility, the whole exclusivity of, oh, if you want to get a Shadow Charizard for PvP, well, you have to catch it a certain time. You also have to TM away Frustration, which is a limited time frames that you'll be able to do that. Because Frustration's terrible. Return's very good. Frustration's terrible. Kind of similar to the main series. Obviously, you have to factor in like friendship and such, but you don't have to do that in Go.
The Shadow Pokemon just always hate you.
They just always hate you for some reason. Maybe it's because they're suffering because of Team Cypher. In Go, it's Team Rocket. It's Team Go Rocket.
Team Go Rocket.
Yeah, yep. Slightly different. But yeah, so like something like Shadow Charizard where you want Blast Burn, which is an exclusive move. Wing Attack is also an exclusive move. It's fast attack, so like you have to use an Elite TM on that. You have to wait for it to be able to be TM'd off of Frustration. It can be a bit of a nightmare. And like, again, like I am all set. I have multiple Shadow Charizard for PvP, like, but I've talked to a bunch of, players that are interested in the game, and they just get a headache even thinking about some of these things. It makes for very flashy games, and there's where I'll say the benefit is like Shadow Quagsire even is really fun to watch. But it is tough to see like how difficult it is to get that like arsenal ready.
Yeah, especially like, as you were saying, I was looking at like for my Pokemon Go, it's like I'll play a few Great Battle League, and I took about a year and a half or so break from it, and I'm going through. I'm like, okay, I have the Shadow Pokemon.
Yep.
It's in IVs, and then I realized I'm like, I got Frustration.
Yep.
Might as well not have it. And that is definitely, I'd say, a little more of the frustrating side with Go.
Yep. Yeah, I have a friend in Australia who brought Shadow Alola Ninetales with Frustration on it to a regional because its playstyle is very like fast attack focused. And you can still like double move it, so you can still get one charge move, just not both. And she was like, my opponents won't know. This was before we had open team sheets for both games, actually, for Go and VGC. I think it was before VG came back for Scarlet Violet. But she's like, they won't know, and maybe they'll respect that I have the other move, but I just wasn't able to TM it away. And I mean, she didn't do great or anything, but it was a fun little story, and it's wild because it's like, absolutely, if that's the Pokemon you need on your team, then you kind of have to deal with it, and that's not something you really see with VGC. Like, maybe you have to build a different team because you don't have Calyrex, or because you don't have access to Urshifu or whatever it may be, but you're never like, oh, my Urshifu can't use Surging Strikes. Like, oh,
Only if.
I have,
Don't tempt me with a good time.
yeah, I have Calyrex, but it can't use Astral Barrage. Like, so we're just gonna pretend that it does and see if the opponent clicks Wide Guard. It's crazy to like even talk about the hypothetical sometimes.
Yeah. So you have a few more questions. This one
Yeah.
is a little more of a personal question, not about the game, but
Mm.
game related. You've had a lot of amazing moments, as you've already let off, qualifying for Worlds twice,
Mm-hmm.
getting a travel award, and getting paid to go to Japan is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, what is the one Pokemon Go moment in your tournament career that you were the most proud of?
That I'm the most proud of. Okay, so that's gonna be tough. I'm gonna cheat and give like an answer of like first big excitement, and then I'll actually answer the question because
Okay.
so I made grand finals in Peoria 22, and that was like there were a couple times in grassroots that I felt like really really good at the game. That was like a wow, I've kind of gone toe for toe with the guy that wound up winning it. I took him to 15 games. So winners finals, losers finals, and grand finals are best of 5. I beat him in 5 games in the winners finals. He went down to losers, won back, and then came into grands. And then he won our first set in 5 games, and then the second set also in 5 games. So
yeah, I think I should. I apologize. I think we should also add in, just for those who don't know, Pokemon Go regionals are double elimination, so that's why there's a winners bracket, losers. It's a lot different from the TCG and VGC Swiss system with a day 2.
Yes. VGC is Swiss into a single elim top 8, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And same. It's the same as TCG, but TCG they have IDs and we don't.
Right, yeah. So Go is double elim. We're hoping to get Swiss at some point, but it's a matter of having enough phones. So, in Peoria, I was on the winner's side coming into the grand finals, and on the whole, won 7 of the matches. Of the rounds, he won 8, and just like was really really riveting. Extremely good player. He's the guy that just won NAIC a couple weeks back, and that felt crazy, but. No, the like best moment was NAIC last year. As you were chatting about earlier, like I was on for like I want to say 7 or 8 different matches in a row. Went into day 2, lost my like first round, so was in the lower bracket, and then I played. Like, they kept me on stage. They just said, okay, bring out the next person, and just tore through the lower bracket. Played quite a few friends of mine, wound up playing and knocking out the guy who knocked me to the lower bracket. So that was fun little, like, revenge schema. It was wild, because I had said to a couple people leading up to it, like, I want to get the top 8 playmat. I want the Evolution playmat. Got into top 8, was playing, won my match into top 6, and then lost to finish tied for 6th place. Last season for Go, the winner at any regional or top 2 at an international would get the travel award. They didn't have CP set up. Championship points weren't a thing. So that was the way they determined travel awards. And qualifying was top 2 at a regional or top 4 at an IC. A little bit different from this season, where it's the same across all games where the winner qualifies. But again, we didn't have championship points at all, so that was the only way to determine. So the top 3 at NAIC all had travel awards from winning regionals that season. So the travel awards went down to 4, which is the guy that beat me in the top 4 match, and 5. Well, we had 2 people tied for 6. So they play out and finish to the top 3 for Sunday's match, because they do all the all the finals on Sundays for ICs. And they said, okay, they pull over myself, and Kyle was my opponent. Lyle Jeff's very, very good player who's won a couple regionals this season. they said, okay, we have to have a playoff for the travel award. We want to stream it. And I said, okay, like let's have some fun with it. And so they take us back out. It's interesting as a dynamic because we're both out of the tournament already. But this was like to determine the travel award. So, you know, wound up being more money on the line than we had earned at that point. Even including prizing, because it was before we got prizing updated this season, like pretty substantially. So they sit us down, and I think the first game was like fairly clear cut. I just had like lineup advantage. Game 2, I wind up in a commanding position again. Like Kyle played well with what he had against me, but then we get to like halfway through the game, and he still hasn't used any of his shields. And I have Feeney on the field. Feeney has a ton of energy, and Feeney has 2 charge moves in Go PvP, Surf and Moonblast. He brings in his Metacham, obviously weak to Moonblast, but Moonblast is a lot more expensive. It's a lot riskier, like talking earlier, like Charizard throwing Blast Burn kind of deal. And I say, okay, I'm in a good spot. I automatically win if I throw Moonblast and he doesn't shield it. And I go for it, and he doesn't shield it, and it just knocks out, and he's down to 1 Pokemon. I still have 3 remaining. And there's a rather unflattering gif that someone took of the stream at the time, because I'm just screaming into the... Like, I'm screaming, I'm freaking out in my chair, losing composure. And it's, you know... I find it flattering in the sense of, like, it is very good passion, and it is a very good moment, but, it was an amazing time because, you know, I got, $3,500 there. Like, that was an out of region travel award. And again, Kyle's a great guy. Like, we finish up, hug, and, get our picture. They did the picture of all the top 8 with our mats and all. But that was like the biggest high that I've had in a moment. That tournament as well, like one of my earlier matches, I made like a really good catch on a move, which similar to VGC, it's like if someone had clicked Draco Meteor and I swapped in my Flutter Mane. Except even more intense in Go because you have to get it to the correct half second that you know your opponent's gonna throw a move. So like my opponent Sableye threw return and I caught it on my own. And it was like, let's go! Really, really good moments. But that Moonblast is like still the kind of pinnacle of just also on display, like on an IC stage. Felt really great.
Yeah. And with you bringing up like that day 2, so me and my friends, we did not make day 2 of VGC NAIC. Not going to talk about how I did in that one.
You had fun. That's what matters.
I had a lot of fun. And so two of my friends, Jacob and Chris, we were sitting there. We're like, waiting for VGC. Like, I think it was either the VGC match we were just waiting for, or it just wasn't good. And we're like, Pokemon Go's right there. And we saw you in that day 2, like that gauntlet run where you just sat in the chair.
Yeah.
And it was like, next victim. And we didn't know any Go players. And we're like, okay, this Enhoff person, they're really, really good at this game. And turns out we had a good eye because you are insanely talented.
Yeah, no, game. It was really fun because like I'm friends with quite a few members of production and also of judge staff. So I was like, okay, am I getting up now? And they're like, no. Or like, oh, you're gonna be in the right chair now. Can you just move over to the other side? And I'm like, okay, I'll move my plushies. I'll like take my notebook and sit over there. But it was just like, okay, cool. Am I done now? No, you have to face, like, Adam's up next. Adam's a good friend of mine that I played. Actually, the match that got me into top 8. And it was just wild, the consistency of it, like 6 or 7 in a row again.
Yeah.
But that is really cool. I've heard that from a couple of people that they're like, yeah, I saw you at NAIC 22. And I'm like, huh. Or 23, rather.
Yeah.
Like, wild.
So we have two more questions
Okay.
before we finish up. The first one, and this is honestly one I probably should have asked you like from the start:
Mm.
Team Valor, Team Mystic, or Team Instinct?
Oh, I'm Team Mystic. No. What are you?
I'm Valor.
Okay.
You could probably, I mean, you're going to kick my butt if I ever try to play you in this anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Mm.
For this moment, we can say go Team Mystic.
It's just blue's my favorite color. Like it's nothing deeper than that.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of my friends were also Mystics, so I'm like, cool, this works.
So yeah, it was my friend group at the time. We're like, okay, we have to be on the same team,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, one of them said Valor, and no one else said anything else, and he's like,
Thumbs
okay,
up.
I picked Valor. All of you have to do this now.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. And the second question, this is a question that I ask all but one of our guests here because I forgot to ask this last week. What is your favorite thing to cook?
What is my favorite thing to cook? Okay, this
Yep.
changes extremely frequently, but recently, I've really enjoyed making meat buns because I really enjoy making bread in general. I've been baking bread for years at this point, and have just tried to do various different things with it, and so I've started making meat buns a little more frequently. I guess that's baking rather than cooking, but same idea.
No, still counts.
Yeah.
We have I know you mentioned like you're a New Englander.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bakers in the
Yes.
New England VGC scene. So I'd say like if you want to do like a New England baking competition,
Ooh.
I will judge. I cannot participate.
Mm-hmm.
I will judge though.
Sounds fun. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for joining us. So before we go, any socials you want to plug and any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Twitter. It's Goddess Enhoff, which is actually a Go Grassroots reference. We had a like tier structure, and the top one was God tier, and I was the only woman in the God tier, so I was Goddess Enhoff for a bit of time. That grassroots scene is no longer like active, but the name remains. So Goddess Enhoff on Twitter. I am Ana Hoff on Twitch because Enhoff was taken. Unfortunately, happens very frequently with the username. 5 letters is tough to get. I mean, shout outs feeling topical from our discussions throughout and earlier. Shout outs to the New England VGC scene and to all the professors working to get that set up. I've chatted with quite a few of them. I know you have, and as you were mentioning, like lots of thankless work going on, and it's very much appreciated. Even as someone who might not wind up going to any VG locals, I'll probably go to a few, but like as a Go player, it still is very nice to see, and always appreciate the work that professors put into the scene.
Yeah, no, it's a shout out to our professors for all of these games. This episode's going to go out. It'll be about a week or so since the new locals situation's been out, and everyone just thank your local professors, your local TOs, your local judges, because right now they are really going through it.
Yeah.
And it really is a thankless job that they're doing to make sure that everyone has a place to play their choice of game, whether it is Go, TCG, or VGC, in a safe space locally to build that community.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see. It is unfortunate, obviously, the news and all, and how they're having to put in the work and pivot, but it is amazing to see and inspiring how much people are, getting behind it all.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. And viewers, you can find us at LR Lessons on Twitter. You can find us at our Little Lessons YouTube page, which you are watching this video on right now. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment about what team you picked in Pokemon Go. Make sure to watch all of our other videos. We have the Carter's Genlock, the Gen 2 video coming up soon. Of course, all of Jay's draft videos as well. Our weekly podcast coming out every Monday with whether it's the original trio of our crew or the assorted guests that we've had over the past few weeks, as well as our hosts. You can also find the podcast on all podcatchers such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching this edition of the Littleroot Record. Yep.
Yep.
Can't even do an outro. I can't do an outro like Jay. Thank you very much, viewers. Have a great week. Bye now.